I don't even know what I'm going to do about college.
I'm too dumb.
I'm too awesome.
I have all this milk. I don't know what I'm going to major in.
Hey, that's
I say we go to Harvard.
You know why? Because education today starts now.
Welcome to Education Today. I'm David DeVivo.
And I'm Tyler Freno, and we're students at Armstrong School District's Katanning High School.
It is something every student has to do every year as they prepare for graduation. There are many big decisions that must be made that will affect the direction that will the rest of their life. One of the biggest decisions is whether to seek a job in the workforce or to attend some sort of post-secondary education, whether that be a trade school or a university. Either way, there is a necessary transition that must take place.
Tonight, we have a special guest with us that speaks to high school students all over Western Pennsylvania about making this transition from high school to college. She recently spoke in our district with students at Ford City High School. Welcome to Education Today. Would you please introduce yourself and where you work?
My name is Stephanie Demelon, and I'm an Assistant Director of Admissions for Carlow University in Pittsburgh.
Thank you.
Pretty cool. What responsibilities do you have at your position at Carlisle?
My primary responsibility is the recruitment of students for enrollment purposes, but I find within that there are many different responsibilities that fall under that umbrella, but that is my primary responsibility.
Okay.
I know you're a very busy person. Where do you travel to deliver your presentations?
Well, actually, I go to the high schools in Armstrong County, Fayette County, Cambria County, Indiana County, Somerset County, and Westmoreland County.
So pretty much everywhere around.
Pretty much.
Yeah, you're a busy woman. What are some of the topics that you covered during your presentation?
My primary topic is about Carlow and the programs that we offer there, but a lot of times that will segue into presentations about how to even get into college, how to prepare for college, what students should be doing when.
Okay.
For those viewers who may not be attending a post-secondary way of school, can you make any correlation between what you speak about and the transition that those students may go through when entering the workforce immediately?
I think the biggest thing for students in making the transition is really just about responsibility. Responsibility about if you decide to enter right into the workforce, being there on time, having your work done, doing your work the way that the employer expects it to be done, and not making excuses when it may not be done correctly. And I think the other thing too is just in saying all of that is time management. And I think that's also very important, just in general as a life skill.
Okay. Can you give us a timeline of what students should be preparing for if they're going to college and like what they should be doing before they get there, what necessary things need to be out of the way?
The first thing I tell students is to start the college search early because you need to be well prepared in order to make an accurate decision for yourself. And that could be as simple as just getting on the computer, looking at different college websites, seeing what academic programs are offered, and if they're of interest to you, maybe taking a virtual tour. I also recommend with that, of course, is in order to get into college, you have to keep your grades up. And that is very important. And sometimes students, they think we may not see their grades, but that is very important. So always challenging themselves is important as well, as far as taking AP classes, honors courses, if students have a college and high school program, and then also preparing to take those SAT or those ACT tests, and those should be taken more than once. So if they start early enough, I think preparation is the key for everything.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. With that said, what are some of the biggest issues that you see when students are trying to prepare for the next step of their lives?
As far as issues go, I would say one of the first things is I think a lot of students become overwhelmed because every day you go home, there's 10 new catalogs probably waiting for you from different colleges, and you don't know really where to begin or how to start. So I think honestly, the biggest issue is just getting started and knowing how to do that. So one of the first things I tell students is, if you get a booklet from a college that's across the country and you're not planning on going that far, you know, you can look at it, but that wouldn't be at the top of your list. So, you know, just I think getting started is the most important thing. And I think here again, just getting on the computers and investigating things is very important.
Yeah, I know everything that ever came through the mail for me, I'd always look to see if they had at least a major that I was interested in. If not, right in the garbage.
Right. I think a lot of kids feel that way, but I think when they get home and there's 20 catalogs waiting for them,
Pretty
it's
special.
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's
I feel
difficult
really
to
special.
do.
That's why I
All this
smile.
college wants me to get a big envelope. I'm like, I don't know this college. What is this?
I have like a big basket for college stuff. Do you do any kind of feedback during or after your presentation?
I always ask students if they have questions as I'm going through my presentation, because sometimes I may say a word that they've never heard of, but we use it in college admissions all the time. So I always ask for questions, and then I even encourage the students after the presentation, if they want to come up and speak with me, that's fine, or they can certainly email me any questions that they may have at that point in time.
All right.
What do students seem most concerned with?
I would say the biggest issue that I hear a lot of, which I think is just very common for everyone, is about financial aid and actually affording college. And I think given the economy, the way that it is right now, I think that's a concern for everyone. I don't think it's specific to one certain type of student. But the good thing about that is that at a school like Carlo, we are very small and we're very personalized in our approach. So we work one-on-one with students, and we help walk them through the process.
If you're ever late to class, your professor would call you up and be like, "Where are you?"
Not all the time.
Okay, thanks very much. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with Armstrong School District's Education Today. Stick around.
Stick around.
Before I came to IUP, I had no idea what college would be like, or what role I would play, or where I'd be in the future. But when I came to IUP, everything changed. I met people who really made me feel like I belonged. I had great classes at a great nationally ranked university. Hi, my name's Megan Miller. I'm a fine arts major, and this is my university.
We're back with Armstrong School District's Education Today. We're talking about making the transition from high school and college and how to prepare yourself for making that huge jump. Here with us tonight to speak about this is Stephanie Demelon from Carlisle University. Let's dive deeper into the different topics that you covered during your presentation. Let's start with the grades and the importance of that.
Okay. Grades are very important, not only just for getting into college, but also for the scholarships that students receive. A lot of students don't realize that the cumulative grade point average from the freshman year of high school, pretty much through the end of the junior year, determines typically how much students can get in academic monies. Okay. So grades are very important, and here again, students would want to challenge themselves with different courses so they can build a good resume.
Grades can become part of a student's resume. What suggestions do you give for building a good resume for colleges?
I suggest taking college level classes if the school offers them. I suggest taking AP courses if the high school offers that as well. I think the more students challenge themselves, it shows initiative to the college admissions personnel. And I think that it's important because more students are trying to gain entrance to colleges today more so than ever. Yeah. So it is important to be that standout.
Okay. When students are looking at colleges, they should do so with a career path in mind. With so many out there, how do you decide with which major is right for you and what career you want to do in life?
Well, I completely understand this question because I am the national average. I changed my major 6 times in college.
Oh, wow.
So I always tell students that it's always good if you can job shadow. If you're thinking about a career but you're not sure that's exactly what you want to do, say a student is thinking about nursing. Carlo offers a nursing program. I always tell them, or ask them, do you have a friend or a neighbor or someone that you know that is a nurse that you'd like to go and job shadow? And they should job shadow for more than a day, because I always tell people anybody can have a good day. Do it maybe for a week in the summer. I think job shadowing is very important. Having said that, though, I think it is also okay to go into college and have the idea of exploring what you like and what you don't like, because that's what college is about. It's about figuring out what you like and what you don't like and in what areas you excel.
Yeah, that's very right.
What if any consequences are there if you attend undecided?
Actually, as far as I know, I actually tell students that if they truly are undecided, it's okay to go into college undecided, because here again, it goes back to exploring what they like and what they don't like. Given that I changed my major 6 times in college, I actually chose my major from an elective course that I chose out of the schedule, and I just thought it would be an interesting course to take, and so my major actually ended up finding me.
That's pretty sweet.
The only difference I would say is the fact that if you're thinking about doing an education major or a nursing major, those are the 2 programs in the state of Pennsylvania that are the highest regulated. So the courses are typically offered in a sequential offering. So if you miss a semester, it can push you back. So I recommend for students that are thinking that to go ahead and enter as either of those majors, and if they decided that's not what they want to do, it's a lot easier to change.
Yeah, I know when I applied to college, I had to pick what school of learning I wanted to attend at Penn State, and I had to pick School of Engineering or School of Science.
Right.
So it's kind of pushing you towards what you want to do, but you still have the wide option of what's inside that school to pick from.
Absolutely, and I think that's really important. College is about options, and I tell students that.
There's a lot that goes on in preparing for college, obviously. And something that may get lost in the shuffle is the SAT. What is the importance of this, and how should students prepare to take it?
The SAT tests or the ACT exams, they are the only barometer that we have to measure candidates by. So I tell students to plan to test early and to test often. Typically, if I'm speaking with juniors, I will tell them to take the SAT or the ACT in the spring of their junior year, take it in the summer between junior and senior year, and then take it the very first time it's offered in the fall of their senior year. It's important because some schools, and I can't speak for all schools, but I know at Carlo, we will take the 2 highest scores from the SAT test, even if they're from 2 different test dates. So we do that to try to maximize the score so that we can give higher scholarships to help students out.
Okay. Do you only get one chance with this test? Do colleges look at it or take into consideration if you take more than once?
You actually have, like I said, more than one opportunity to take those tests, and I really encourage that here again just for scholarship purposes. And as far as, how colleges look at them, every college is different and it varies. I'm sure how we evaluate them is much different than another university would evaluate them. So I always recommend to students, it is important when they visit to go, to not be afraid and to ask the admissions officers how they, consider the tests.
Because I know I did better on my math the first time than English the second time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was vice versa. I did better on my math and writing the second time than the first time.
Right. It's not fun when I have to tell students to take the tests more than once, but I always tell them I had to take them twice. So it's very common.
Yeah, it's
very
not that
common.
bad. What is the importance of visiting colleges before you decide where to go? And what should students be looking for during their visits?
It is so critically important that students visit any college or university that they're looking at, and they need to make time to do that. More often than not, I hear that students have chosen a school because it looked nice in the brochure. And what I think the benefit is in visiting a campus is, first of all, you get to see the campus in action. I always recommend that my students come and visit Carlo during the week so they can see what it's like to have students on campus. I also recommend to students that when you're there, come with a list of questions. You should ask about SAT and ACT scores. You can ask to speak to a professor in the area that you're interested in. If you're an athlete, you can certainly ask to speak to one of the coaches as well. And it's also important, and I know at Carlo we offer a student-led tour to every single visitor that comes on campus. So it really gives students the idea of, if I came here, what would it really be like? And I think it also establishes a level of comfortability for the students and the parents as well.
Yeah, because sometimes I'll go to college and just walk in and be like, no.
Right,
And
you
then
do.
I get a sense of home kind of at some of them. I like that a lot.
Right, you do get that feeling, and a lot of times it also, I think, gives students the opportunity, if they think they want to go into the city, but maybe they're not sure. It gives them the opportunity to see what surrounds the campuses as well.
I know I only got to tour 2 colleges before I was accepted into one of them. And both of them I really enjoyed, and they were a big difference from 4,500 students to 45,000 students.
Right.
But I felt comfortable in both situations, being both were Penn State and one was just a branch campus. But it was nice getting to get a feel for it and to talk to the students that actually go there and see what it's like.
Absolutely, and some students feel that they want to go to a big school, which is fine, but then sometimes when they visit, they think, oh, this might be too big. And then in the reverse, some students think they want to do small, and then they come and they visit and they go, oh, this might be too small. So it really is all about your personal feeling when you're on the campus.
For some, financial aid may be needed. What needs to be done, or how does a student or parent go about setting this up?
As far as financial aid goes, well, first I would like to say that every college wants to help students and families, and we're always only a phone call away. As far as financial aid goes, it is a very convoluted process to some people. So I tell students to really rely on the strength of their admissions counselor at their respective school, but also what's really critical with financial aid is meeting all of the deadlines. And there are deadlines, and if they are missed, it can mean that money that you may have been eligible for, you may not be eligible for now. So it's very important to start early, establish a timeline, and always keep open lines of communication open with your admissions personnel.
Okay. There's a million things that students deal with in school, and something they might not realize is their use of social media outlets and their need to be responsible once they are on their own at school. For many, it will be their first time on their own. Can you speak about that?
First of all, I love this topic because I think it's so important to students. When you get to college, there is that amount of freedom that students have, and they think no one's watching or no one's going to see anything. It is very important when you're using social media websites to be careful what you post out there, what photos are out there, in particular for any major that you're looking into, but especially for things like education, because a lot of school districts, when an application is received, they go on and they can look at that and research that. Some companies do that as well. So it is really important. It's fine to use social media, but just use it responsibly is what I tell my students, and be careful of what photos are out there.
Yeah. Lastly, let's talk about letters of recommendation.
Okay. What would you like to know?
Just at Carlisle, do they prefer letters of recommendation? I know when I applied to Penn State, they weren't required, but it was an option for if it came down to the wire.
Right. At Carlo, it's the same thing. We don't require letters of recommendation, but I always tell students if they have those prepared to certainly send them in. We certainly read them, and they really serve to strengthen a student's enrollment file and also their profile. So I actually enjoy reading the letters of recommendation, especially if you haven't met the student yet. It really gives you an insight into what others have to say about them. So I do recommend letters of recommendation, but at some schools, like at Carlo, we don't require them. But if the student wants to have them sent, I certainly encourage that.
Has a letter of recommendation ever been like something that convinces Carlisle to accept a student, possibly?
Actually, because we don't require them, that's not something that we use as far as weighting one student versus another. At Carlo, what I can say is that we are very fair with our students, and we do look at SAT and grade point averages. We also look at clubs and activities students have been involved in, because I think that says a lot about a student's character as well.
Okay. Is there anything else you would like to add to?
I would just tell students and parents that are going through this process just to start early, have a great timeline, limit the number of schools that you're looking at. Sometimes I think people look at, I once had a girl who was looking at 80 different colleges, and that's a little much. So I tell students and parents to come up with a reasonable number and make sure you leave enough time to visit all of the campuses and come prepared for the visits. And the other thing is just to utilize the resources that you have, the computer, utilize the resources on the campus when you're there as well, such as someone like me who can answer questions and is glad to sit and talk with families, and not to be afraid. We're all there to help. You know, we're all there to help.
Well, that's our show for today. I'd like to thank our guest, Stephanie Demilon of Carlisle University, for taking time out of her extremely busy schedule to talk about this topic. It's truly an important time for high school students, and hopefully her information will go a long way towards helping you and your students prepare for the jump from high school to college.
Our thanks go out to TV production students of Katanning High School, led by their teacher, Mr. Don Swanson. They were our film crew today. Please join us again next week for another look at Armstrong School District. DVD copies of this and all Education Today programming can be requested contacting Chris Garatano, multimedia technician at Katanning Junior High School. Visit our website for updated information about the district, and have a great week.